Ms. Barrow?
Here.
Mr. Chappell?
Here.
Ms. Galbraith?
Here.
Ms. Gibson?
Here.
Mayor Kelly?
Here. Before we get started, I'd like to clarify something for all of you. Last week I suggested that we perhaps not charge the 3% increase in water because we're going to be having ad valorem this year. I don't want you to misunderstand what I was saying. That wasn't the 3% from Bay County and the 8% from Bay County. I'm not suggesting that. All I suggested was that perhaps we would not charge the 3% for Parker if we were going to have ad valorem. The county is going to charge us a 3% increase, as you should know by now, on water, and an 8% increase on sewer, and that we have no control over. We have to pass that along. Okay, thank you. Go ahead. I open the floor.
So now you're suggesting that we charge the ad valorem and increase the utilities by 3%? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm trying to make this clear to everybody. The part that's from Bay County, the part that they charge us,
Right?
3% for water and 8% for sewer,
Right?
that has to be charged along to the customer. But our extra 3% that we always used to put on there, I suggested that maybe we wouldn't do that if we're going to have ad valorem tax.
So you do want us to pass along 11% to the,
We have no choice.
we have a choice. We don't have to do that. We have to pay it, but we don't have to charge it.
We'd be eating it, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm mistaken.
The way that the budget is prepared now is there is the cost of the water and sewer, their increases are reflected in our expenses, but the revenue side has no increase in it. So if you guys would like to change that, then we would need to
So the
update.
increase that we put on was 11%, 3 and 8.
Correct. That was from
We
the county.
increased our sewer expense by 8%,
Right.
and we increased our water expense by 3% from the county's notifications. But the increase currently in this budget was not put on the revenue side to pass along to our
Yeah.
citizens.
So that extra 3%, that is the Parker side, is not in the budget.
We're not,
There's nothing.
there's nothing, we're
in
not,
the
we're
budget.
eating it.
Because if we have ad valorem,
would
it's
eat
only
it.
fair not to charge the Parker side. I thought.
We would be, the way it is right now is we are eating the expenditure
Yes.
Okay.
at this point.
So,
The increase you're saying, the increase from the county, the city's citizens of Parker
What-
would not be passed along to them.
Currently,
Right.
yes, as it's prepared now.
but we do know that only 40% of the people in Parker own their homes, and the majority, the 60%,
Rent.
are renters who do not pay ad valorem tax of any kind.
Well, the owner wouldn't they? They'd pass it along in the rent, hopefully.
So, okay.
So this budget that you have in front of you shows that 3% and 8%, us taking that hit, not getting,
Okay,
right.
so we need to add 11% from Bay County into this budget, is what you're saying?
If we want the increase to zero out, yes.
So,
If we
I
don't
think
wanna
that's
eat
a
that.
line item we need to talk about. I
What,
mean,
what would be the amount of that, approximately, the 8 and 10% increase?
We would increase about $30,000 in water from 956,000 to 985. And sewer is currently sitting at 1.8 million, and that would go to 1.949. So another 100,000. So, utility would go from, their net revenue and expenditures would be 1.115 million instead of currently, I think they're at 900, 942, 236. So, 942, 236. be an increase in revenue of $173,000.
Can residents speak?
I believe we're noticed as a special meeting, Mayor.
Yeah. Is it the door? You want me to get one?
Sir?
They put them in the door. Do you want to slip?
No, sir, I was just saying, I think we're listed as a special meeting, in which case they can,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, microphone, sorry.
Pat Posick, 1344 Stratford. Just a question, understanding what we're talking about here, the fact that the city's going to incur additional expenses because the county is raising the water and the sewage prices. I would ask the council to consider, because you are going to pass an ad valorem, that if you do want to pass this expense along, this additional expense along to the residents, would you do it based upon the actual cost and not a 3% increase in our actual rates? For example, I believe the citizens pay about 3 times for water. I don't know the details on sewer from memory, but we pay about 3 times for water what the city of Parker pays Bay County. That is a significant increase versus what you're collecting, or sorry, what the city is having to pay to Bay County. For example, if they're charging us $1 a gallon and a 3% increase would be $1.03, $1.30, then increase it by 30 cents, not the $2 that you're charging us by 3%. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So pass along the true cost, not a 3% increase on what we're currently paying, because we're already paying a lot. Not asking the city to eat their expenses, but asking them to be fair in covering just the expense, because you're already going to get another $800,000 or so from the ad valorem. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
so my problem with increasing the utilities is that we just did it, and we did it because we thought we were going to need money, remember? We did what did we do, a 10% increase recently?
Something. 16 altogether. wasn't it?
16,
Well,
because we
16.9.
did not have enough money in the utility fund, and now that we are gonna try to add the ad valorem,
Yep.
I mean, I feel like we're double adding to the bill if we
Okay.
add this. So I am still of the opinion that we do not pass that 11% along.
But what she says, if you think about it, there is a markup on what we get from the county. If we just pass along what it cost us extra, that may be the way to do this. I don't know how hard it'd be to figure that.
Would
But
just
if it's 3 cents on the dollar, we wouldn't charge them 9 cents on the dollar. I'm just using that for easy math.
The county in their notice, I would have to go look at the notice, but it tells us exactly what we're paying now per gallon and then what the rate will go
Right,
to.
right.
So, I mean, just that increase
Yep,
sense wise.
'cause we won't
could
run
be.
the city on this anymore. We'll run the city on the ad valorem like we should have done for the last 20 years.
But don't misunderstand my comment, sorry. If the city insists on passing that along, I'm asking you to be fair.
Yeah, no,
I'm
no,
not
you're right.
suggesting that
I
it's
agree.
fair to tax us doubly,
Yeah.
as Ms. Galbraith is saying. I'm just saying if
Right.
you're,
No, I understand what you're saying.
adamant that it be fair.
Is that hard to figure?
I don't think so, because we know
'Cause
the
we know the
exact,
gallons
yeah.
we buy, right?
And we know the exact rate that it's increasing,
mark it
so
up
we
just
would
that
just
exact amount.
increase our rate that cents instead of a percent.
Okay,
That dollar amount would just go to our
gotcha. I
increase.
understand. Council, what do you think about that?
How much over, the question is, how much over are we charging right now with that extra 16% we just passed?
That I would have to go look at, I'm not sure.
So I would like to know the number of what we're being charged from the county and what we're charging to the residents. So if we're buying it $1 a gallon, are we charging $2 a gallon? And on the sewer end too, right? Or are we charging, and I mean, the whole point of that, the water revenue line,
To run the city?
well, now is to run the city. But that money was supposed to be going for infrastructure.
Right?
So we can't be breaking even. That even though we're getting this extra money, that water revenue and sewer revenue are supposed to go back into maintaining the infrastructure for the water and the sewer.
But we're clearly not breaking even, because that's how we're running the city. But we just implemented a 16%
Last year.
increase
We did.
that would have more than covered this 11% increase.
So
And we did that because we were not, at that time, going to do the ad valorem.
So I think we should, I'd like to see the numbers.
Okay.
I wanna see the hard data.
Yeah.
Is that something you can go pull now so that we can have the discussion?
Okay, so are we going to, let me ask a question. Are we going to try to pass this budget today?
I don't think we're gonna be able to, are we? Because we won't have all the information we're asking
That's
for.
what I was-
I think that to make an informed decision, I think we need at least the water data. If we're wanting to pass this budget, we need to have the water data. If we go ahead and say, you know, let's
Unless
look
you
at the
wanna
numbers.
pass it contingent upon that information at a later time.
Or who wants to increase the water bill? Let's talk about that. I can tell you I do not. So, no matter what those numbers are, I am not in favor of increasing the water
So we're
bill.
gonna withdraw ballot?
I think we should, then we'll know if we
I'm
even need
not,
to.
I don't support no more tax, no more.
I don't either.
Well, I don't believe, I mean, I didn't vote for increasing the water anyway, but still we gotta figure a way that, all the people that use water pay their share because you got all these renters, they pay.
But then the
bill,
landlords
then
mark
they
the rent
take
up, don't
off,
they? That's
and
how
then
we
they
get the
don't pay
money.
Bill and all that kinda crap, so it's always,
But
you know.
but that's not going to fix that problem.
No.
The only thing that fixes that problem is increasing the deposit.
You don't
Yep.
be paying for all these people's water either.
Well, what
But-
do you think, Ms. Gibson?
Do you know what the water rate, the sewer rate
If we
is?
just passed this, we did just pass the 16%, and that was without the ad valorem. And I would say no to a water increase, but I also wanna see the numbers. I just wanna know what it looks like.
Okay, so I think that if you're just looking at it for knowledge, that's fantastic. But if we can pass a budget without having to prolong it any longer, I'm
Budget.
worried about us getting the budget numbers into every place that they have to be in the ad valorem number, or we'll miss out on what we have to
She's
do.
right. August the 4th is the deadline.
Oh, okay.
That's why
The
we had to move the
deadline.
meeting.
Donna, do you know on the bill how much the rate is?
You know already, don't you? Pretty
For-
close.
I know that the new rate for sewer will be $3.34 a gallon, and water will be $2.01 a gallon.
1,000 gallons.
1,000.
Per thousand, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
yes.
because
Yeah.
we charge
yes.
$6.13 per thousand
$62.50 for the basic fee.
$6.13 per thousand,
Okay, for,
and for water, and $10.32 per thousand for sewer.
so there you go.
Okay.
That's what we currently charge.
Right.
And then what are we being charged by the county?
As of October 1st, for sewer will be $3.34, and water $1.01, or
And that's
$2,
about, what, 100,000 a year
$2.01.
increase from them to us. So we'd have to take that 100,000 straight out of the ad valorem.
Okay, the increase was for the water,
And sewer.
And so we're
And
8%.
sewer.
no, not just what y'all voted for, was for water.
Not to
The
raise it at all.
10%. No, the 10% that was added on to it was for water, it wasn't for sewer, was it?
Last year,
It was water and sewer.
it was a combination, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Water and sewer.
It was water and
16% overall, was it? It was 12, 13 and 3.
Suzanne, can you repeat those numbers to me again,
Yes.
because I didn't write them down?
Yes, so according to Donna, our current sewer rate is $10.32.
That's what we're charging.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am,
Per thousand.
per 1,000 gallons.
1032. Okay.
1,000.
Per thousand, yeah.
We will pay the county effective October 1st, $3.34 per 1,000 gallon. Water, we currently charge $6.13 per 1,000. And effective October 1st, we will pay the county $2.01.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm okay, I'm not doing the
Yep.
water increase, I'm fine with that.
Because we're gonna do
Based
the
off
ad
of that.
valorem, yeah,
Would you say it was 10 something for the sewer?
1032.
1032.
30.
per thousand.
Okay, so that piece is
As
taken
long as
care of.
everybody's paying their share, when they use it, they're paying their share. I don't have a problem with it.
Everybody would?
As long as everybody's paying their share of it when they use the water.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Well, that'll be the gallons used multiplied by 3, I think that's what
I
they
know
do.
that what we're paying is, a lot less than what we're taking in, so.
Right. Okay, what's next?
All right, I'm gonna take that out back to where we were. The other thing, we left the meeting last week, in hopes that we could get some more insurance information for our benefits.
Right.
We've reached out to Barnes multiple times to try to get that information, and they were unable to get it to us. So I don't have any additional quotes, based on cheaper plans. I have informed them that we wanted an option because of the significant increase that the
Correct.
12% that they had projected that we may incur, but they could not give us anything.
When does
without having
when will the
renewals.
bids come out? November, like everybody else, for the new insurance?
No, she said that it should be in August.
In August.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because they renew October 1st, so we
if we
have to have
approve the
them in
budget as
October.
is, we could do a mid-year adjustment for any change.
Yes.
And if whatever comes in is over 12%, they will at that time be able to, because we're in that renewal time, they'll be able to price and get us lower
Okay.
ones to look at as an option if it goes over the 12% is what.
Because we don't have to have these people, do we? We could get bids from some other folks.
Well, and that's what I would like to comment on. I reached out to several insurance agents and asked this exact question. If you held our current policy and we asked for new rates, would you be able to provide those?
Right?
Every person that I called said they would be able to get those numbers within 3 days.
I mean,
So I am very unsure why Barnes is unable to do that for us.
Yeah.
And I also said, we know that it would be an estimate, like it's nothing that we would hold you to.
Right,
like, we
right, just something
completely
for a number on paper,
understand,
yeah.
But what would a cheaper policy look like, and how much would it even be estimated? It
But
was
they should
totally
have been
an
able to give us
estimate.
hard numbers based on a new policy. So I would like to, if you guys are okay with it, have a workshop on our health insurance policy as soon as we get some numbers. But I would like to discuss changing of our plan administrator.
We had this trouble last year too.
We did.
This is-
Did we sign a 2-year contract with them?
No, it's a yearly policy,
I wouldn't-
correct?
I wouldn't think so, but I'm not 100%.
2-year contract the last time. I'm almost positive.
It was my understanding from them, we would have, if we came in as a new customer, they could get those, but not using our existing things right now. If we went to a different insurance agent and they put us in as a new customer, they could get policy information. But just like, you know how, like with your health insurance, you can only change it one time a year at their policy time,
Right.
unless you have a life event. That's where they're at. They can't go in unless they put us in as a new customer and get things until
If
that
we had an
renewal
approved budget, we could still change this later,
time.
right?
We can.
Well, I would like to request that we put it for RFQ. And let's look at, if we are not under contract, I would
Right.
like to put this out for RFQ,
When-
in which
when
case
does it
we'll have to do it
expire?
pretty quick.
I
It
don't
should be in October, right? Like, isn't that the normal? The other question I had.
I think
do
it
they
does
have our-
renew in October, April.
Do they have our vehicles and our property as well?
No,
No,
that's
that's
Carter,
Carter
that's
Middleman's.
Carter
Seven.
Middleman.
Oh, that's right, okay, I was trying to remember.
So are you guys okay with putting that out for RFQ?
Yes.
I don't think we can put it out for RFP because when we have to provide all that information, and they're all going to quote the same policies per se,
Just different salesperson.
but a different person to deal with our,
We could do that anyway, couldn't we, no matter what we do? Because all it would do was reduce the budget expenditure.
And I was gonna reach out to a few, but I knew that was a lot of work if we weren't willing to.
Yeah,
Right.
and Barnes
to
might say,
remove
okay, I gotta reduce it if I wanna keep it, you know? Yeah.
so I think that, the last time that we put it out was at 2014? So
I
we
believe-
might could look back
Was
and
it
get the
really?
RFQ for that.
It was. I believe that's. when
Because
they
I know
came.
that's probably gonna be difficult for Donna to put together,
Yeah,
and
Well,
maybe
she
you could
says
get
she's right,
Sloan's
yeah.
help with that. But my guess is we can go back to 2014 and look at it.
God, time flies so fast.
Do we need to vote on that, though? If we're putting out an RFQ, I don't know.
Probably.
I believe we do.
Then I would
Okay.
like to make a motion that we put out an RFQ for our employee benefits
Insurance.
package.
Okay.
Second,
Call the roll, please, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Monroe? Yes. Mr. Chapel?
You got it.
Ms. Gibson?
yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
I did it backwards.
It's okay.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes. You can do me last, first, doesn't matter.
I'll never get it.
You'll get it.
Are there any other, so for that purpose, for health insurance, since that was such a significant, amount, do we wanna leave the 12% and then try to work a renewal within that, or do we wanna lower it? How do we wanna
I say
proceed?
we leave the 12.
Yeah, because it might be 15. Poke the bear, you don't know what you might get.
I
feel
think
like
you've
it's
already
pretty
received a letter that said it
conservative.
was a 12% increase overall, right?
No.
Or the
Barnes,
estimate?
7 to
Barnes
15,
just
wasn't it?
said that's what they're seeing,
Blue Cross-
up to 12%, but it could be more.
So Blue Cross Blue Shield put out a statement to all of their people and said, you can expect a 9 to 12%, that's an average, so it could be 7, it could be 15, but an average would be 9 to 12% for budgetary issues. And, that's what, when we emailed, we said, if it comes in and there is a significant increase more than what we've allocated, we need to look at other plans, and they are fine with that, but they just can't get the information from Blue Cross Blue Shield.
I will tell you, council, also, the last time we changed, we ended up with Ascension, and then nobody in Bay County would take Ascension.
Correct.
So you gotta get the one that works for the part of the United States that you live in order to get insurance that the locals take. Okay, what else?
So as we would stand today,
I think that we leave it at the 12%. That was the
Okay.
question that was asked. I think we should leave it at the 12%.
perfect. Are there any other, questions about the budget? We ended last meeting deciding on a 5% wage increase.
So can we talk about wages for just a second? I know that, I don't know about the other department heads, but I'm assuming that everybody's talked about this. But I know Tony has 2 merit increases that he feels adamantly about giving. Do we want him to talk about those 2 merit increases, or do you guys all know who they are and we just?
I'd like to hear it, I mean, if that's okay.
Here's this.
I'm talking loud enough. So, I have 2 employees that, one, that 5% is not gonna get him a competitive wage, that would be the city mechanic. If we don't get him in a competitive wage with the other mechanics in Bay County, we will lose him. And then I have another supervisor that I need to get I can't have the mechanic making more than the supervisor. So I need to make his pay, when I'm not here, he's the acting supervisor, competitive enough that the mechanic's not making more than he is.
So beyond the 5%, what do you need to give the 2 of them? And is it included in our budget?
So what's the 5% give him?
5% makes him 58,
How much increase is it?
$1.08.
So the mechanic would need 92 cents more.
Jason? Yeah. His increase is 113, and he would get to 23.
So he would need what, 87 cents? And the other one would need 87 cents.
Can we just give them $1 each?
Well, I'm just trying to average out to what I had. Like I said, I was trying to give both of them a $2 raise, and that's what the 5%'s giving one $1.13, and the other one's $1 something else. I'm just trying to level out to $2.
Oh, to $2, I understand.
What is his hourly rate now?
The mechanic currently is $21.50.
As a rule, your COLA would not be part of your raise, it's your COLA.
For a mechanic to be making $21 is,
That's, like I said,
no, I'm saying it's ridiculously low. We are getting,
So why don't we move them to the $2 an hour raise plus the COLA?
Ooh,
well,
No?
I don't know that we should do that.
Well, if they're only making $21 an hour,
if he's happy
Well,
to
I'm
stay-
gonna propose
already-
another section to this
Yeah,
anyway.
You gotta think of all the benefits he's getting too.
Yeah.
yeah, I know, but
I'm
if he's
already
gonna
seeing
quit,
here for 2 employees with the rate, I don't want to cause a problem in my department.
I got you, I got you, I got you, I got you.
I'm already probably gonna take the hit for this right here.
Okay,
So I think that we should go ahead and do that, but the other caveat that I'd like to add is, I would like, between now and mid-year review, I would like to do a city-wide pay rate analysis And if we need to make adjustments at that point, that we do it then.
Okay, and not do a COLA?
No, I still think that we should do the COLA for the current time being,
Right,
but I think
right.
we need a pay rate analysis by position, across the board.
Okay,
And then compare it to the other cities, the county.
we don't wanna do that, cause we don't wanna know.
Well, I think we need to know the positions, what they're getting paid, is that what the median should be? When was the last time
I mean, all
people
that
got
data is
raises
public
above their
records.
COLAs? Are we doing merit increases, like all of that? Are we doing annual evaluations?
If
So-
it matters, there are quite a few of us here who are here. The benefits make a difference. There are many people who are here because the benefit package that we get.
Oh, I would agree with that. You can't get that
So-
anywhere else.
Right, you cannot, and that offsets some of the stuff, so.
Which, in my mind, I'd like to see, okay, if somebody's making $20 an hour, right? How much percentage-wise, pay-wise would the benefits be added on top? So having a comparison, and then again, like you said, there's some people that are like, I can make $15 an hour because I've got a sick kid, or because we don't have health insurance, and that is the deciding factor, and that's great, but I'd like to see the numbers of it. Like, is that an additional $20 an hour, and they're really making 40 because of the benefit package?
Have we ever given statements to employees that show how much they make and the value of their benefit and their total package?
Does that not come on their W-2?
Well, their W-2, it would not be broken down, but in my mind, I'm thinking like
I put it on mine.
an
so.
individual letter that would go to each person that shows their annual salary, their health, their vision, their retirement, and a total,
We-
and distribute that to everyone so they know their total benefits package.
I think
they
that would be an
Now,
excellent idea.
We do have, when we get our insurance and we have to bring everybody in at insurance time, when our benefits change or our rates increase, when they come in, we have them, and we just started it last year. There wasn't anything prior, as far as I know, but we have them sign which one they want, and then it also has their, everything's broken down, and then I
Compensation
believe
total.
their salary is also, and they sign. I don't know if their salary was on there last year, but we were actually talking about that for this year when we signed. Remember with Jamie the other day? We were gonna put their salary so that they couldn't come back and say, well, I don't even know how much I make or whatever. So that is something that we do when it's insurance renewal time. We have them sign, and it shows the breakdown of how much we pay, how much they pay.
So
and
maybe
then-
that would be a good time to go ahead and add what you're
Yeah.
suggesting.
Yeah.
It's-
I was
it's
thinking that
fairly
if we're
recent
gonna
anyway.
implement these COLAs as of October 1st, we'll have all of our benefit renewals, and then we could just give them that on
Then we're done.
October
Put it on a whole
1st.
sheet and then have them,
That's an
Like,
excellent
We
idea,
have them
Suzanne.
sign it, and that way
they're.
nothing can,
And I
right,
think a
and we
hard
put it in their
copy
folder.
versus, I
So
mean, it
I-
can be something the electronic digitally that the benefit specialist would require as well, but just having something printed so it's there in front of them.
So that's what they did in the Air Force. Every year, you would get your benefits breakdown, what your COLA was, your base salary, any special duty pay, your housing allowance, and it was all broken down and really how much you were really making, you know? And it puts it in perspective when you
Yeah.
see it that way.
Cause I
because you don't get it.
think with us covering 100% of the insurance for most of, they don't realize the cost of that.
Well,
'cause
and I
it's
think
not
that
coming out of
that
their
needs to,
paycheck.
I would like to talk about that when we're doing
At that
our
time.
review of the, benefits. So is everybody okay with doing a rate analysis across the board?
Yeah.
Just sometime before mid-year review is when I would like to do it. So it also takes us forever to do anything. So let's don't wait until,
Can we put this
maybe
on
we
the
put it
task
in.
list?
Maybe we put it in and set a meeting for it 2 months before mid-year review or something like that, so that
that'd
we
be
can have
June, April.
time to discuss.
April.
But then that means department heads, I mean, you guys are gonna have to get together and have some discussion before we put that on a meeting.
I'm
So,
almost thinking January-ish, just
Okay.
so that they're, I mean,
That's
There's
fine.
time.
Detective Purdue, could you pass that along to Hato for us?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
What else you got, ladies and gentlemen?
Unless there's other questions, I don't have anything else on the budget. Does anybody else have questions? Any
When is
other
our
changes?
ad valorem, our next ad valorem?
It goes into effect August the 4th.
Right.
We have to have everything into the
Tax
county on
appraisal.
August the 4th.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that I did not read, and I don't know if anybody at this table has done it yet, I don't know if there are any publication requirements. So
There
somebody
are.
probably needs
Mr.
to
Sloan's
check that.
assured me he's taking care of it, and I do know for a fact that the county tax appraisers are in and around Parker right now evaluating the city's homes and properties. Sent them out last week. So I'll be in Sloan's office in 4 hours, and I will ask that question just to reconfirm.
Well, with the mayor leaving this week for a week, I think that it's kind of crucial that we pass the budget today.
Thank you, ma'am.
So based off of this number, we're showing 70,000 short. Is that correct?
Without ad valorem,
Without
That's without it.
right? So,
Are we all okay with the 5% across the board raise? I mean, have we determined that we're all okay with that?
I guess my question is, are the supervisors okay with it? Is
I
that-
felt like they were okay with it at the last meeting.
yeah.
You okay with it? Okay. They're okay, I'm okay.
So did we determine that we were going to do the 5% across the board to those not in the probation? And then at the mid-year, do those that were currently in the probationary period?
Yeah, I think that's correct. If you're in probation,
Okay.
you shouldn't get a raise. Not if you're brand new.
But the
It was after
probation is a
6
year.
months, right?
Okay.
After six
That's what?
months. After 6 months of employment in their probation.
A year. Probation's a year. And
But I think
annual
we
leave
said-
is 30
I
90
think
days.
we said 6 months for this, is what we talked about at the last meeting. I
It
just
would-
want to make sure we're all on the same page with that before we,
Okay. The numbers will stay the same if we wait till 6 months has passed, right?
Yes,
For the
so
new hires.
I've looked at the new hires and their increases are not budgeted for 6 months
Okay.
from their date of
All
hire.
right, gotcha. Very good.
okay, so now I think that the hard discussion comes in how much do we assess our citizens for ad valorem?
3.8.
Okay,
100,000 for the insurance. The rate, how much is the 5% gonna cost us?
It was 76,000, I believe.
How much?
I believe it was 76,000.
76,000?
so how do you guys feel about maybe not going the full 3.8? And maybe doing a flat 3 and pulling the balance from utility to balance the budget? You're still only talking about a couple $100,000. And it just wouldn't be such a huge hit at one time. Because we bounced back and forth every time we've talked about it. We started talking about it at like 2.7 and then we ended at like 3.8 to balance the budget.
Will
don't know,
3
do
do
y'all-
it?
What do y'all think about meeting somewhere in the middle for the first year and then
3 will give us, based on the property value assessments that we received in May, 3% would give us approximately 823,000.
It still would give us 823. Yeah, I can go with that.
If we did, if I dump in the general fund deficit right now of 1,008,744, to get us that amount of money, we would need a rate of 3.67.
But that deficit in the general fund is that money that we are,
Spending on insurance and everything.
no. But that
8,000.
So. I didn't think there was a deficit in the general fund because we're waiting, are we still waiting on the FEMA money and we're still waiting?
oh no, we have a deficit in the general fund of over $1
Yeah, that
million.
doesn't-
Everything
That's-
that
that
starts
wouldn't
with
affect it.
01 is the general fund, and so, coming at these okay, I'm making a note to have page numbers on these in the future.
Gosh, that would be wonderful.
Page numbers.
Takes me a little bit to flip through. So gosh, I don't even know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe the 5th page from the back.
Fifth in the back. Okay, 1, 2.
In the middle of the page, it says Community Development Agency, but right above that is our net for general fund of 01. Do you see it, Stacy? I mean, April.
I think I see it. Yeah,
It's
that's
toward the
So-
top.
Total estimated revenue, Department 350, no? Two, three, four, five. Okay,
So that's the total general fund.
okay.
That's the revenues minus the expenditures and what we would be short. So that would be what the ad valorem would go to cover all of the expenses within this fund, general fund of 01.
And what was it, 3.67?
Yes, sir.
Yep,
Rounded 3.68.
3.68.
Which means we would have to pull out of the utility fund again this year, just a little bit, but it'd be less than 200,000. It would be 185,700.
At what, 3%, Ms. Galbraith, is
Yes,
what
sir.
you said?
Yes, sir.
And you said the 3.68% was 1 point, how many million?
It's based on the 1,008,744.
So 1 million. So if we do the 3.8%, then everything is zeroed out and we're wash.
And there'd be slightly a little bit left over.
That would leave a surplus in the utility fund of about 756,000 to
Is
use
that
for
big of a
infrastructure.
difference? Yeah, that's right, which is what we said you needed, right, to do what you had to do?
The SRF project's coming, so we'll know, that's gonna be the biggest one.
So everybody knows that's $300 per 100,000 that your property's worth at, the value, what you pay taxes on. Per year.
That's the 3%, right? Not the 3%.
Well, it's probably not popular, but I think we should go with the 3.8. But I'll go with the majority. We're always broke. Every year we're broke. We just are.
We are.
Every year we're broke. Let's just tear this Band-Aid off and be done with it. That's what we were elected to do. Let's do the right thing.
So if we do the 3, we're gonna have to pull 400,000?
200, less than 2, 185.
Oh, okay, I'm looking at the wrong number. So
Am
that
I
would
right,
take Tony
Suzanne?
down to
Okay.
500,000.
No, it would take the utility department to a surplus of 756.
That can't be right. 756 excess at 3%?
Am I right, Suzanne?
No,
Yeah, because currently they're at 942.
right?
And if we take 180.
That's a 3.8 there at 942.
If we go with a 3% ad valorem, we would have to pull 185,000 from the utility fund to
Right.
the general fund to balance
Right.
the budget.
Right.
But the utility fund would still have a surplus of $756,492.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe it just doesn't feel like so much at one time if we do it in steps.
Yep.
But you're right, Mayor. I mean, nothing we do at this point is going to be the popular vote.
Doesn't matter. It's got to be
But-
done.
Would there be more, we had to increase it next year,
Maybe
Would
decrease it
that-
next year.
be
We-
more upsetting
But
if
we
there
got
was
we
an
got 30
increase
years of
next
infrastructure that's
year?
failing.
So I agree with what you're saying. If we do the 3% now, and there are things that come up that we have to deal with and we have to do, and we have to increase it by a 0.6 or a 0.5, is
Or
it better
3.
just to do it all up front? It is what it is. And if things work out and we can lower it next year, we lower
Yep.
But is it better to have it up front? And then, oh, by the way, we didn't get enough, so we're gonna bump it up another 0.5% or another percent.
That's what we did with the
because
water for so many years.
Because we underestimated. I mean, nothing is getting cheaper, it's getting worse. I mean, I think that,
That's okay.
I think that we told, you know, we put it out there that we were doing the 3.68% was what we were looking at, you know, to kind of begin with. I don't know. Go ahead, Pat.
Pat Fosick, 1344 Stratford. Obviously a difficult subject for everyone to deal with. From a resident's perspective, I know you're all residents as well, and I know you're all gonna be paying the taxes as well. I think from the perspective of those sitting out here, I think to see you use caution and temper the increase, because Ms. Gibson, you're exactly right, everything else is going up. I think that reflects, I think that reflects very well on the council. I also feel that one of the things that I think you need to consider is look at the money that has come into the city in the last couple of years. Let's let FEMA alone, because FEMA was a reimbursement for Michael. But we got 2.1 million from ARPA. A lot of that money still has not been spent because we don't have the work, I don't know why, the personnel to do the jobs. We haven't sent out the bids, but there's a lot of things that have been allocated for that ARPA money that we're waiting on. And we need to be patient. It does take time. I understand that. I don't suggest we go out and hire 30 people in Public Works to get the jobs done. I'm not suggesting that we rush to judgment on some of the bids, but there's money sitting there for that. There's money coming in from the half-cent infrastructure that may or may not be continued in a couple of years. We've looked at the increases, or you've looked at the increases on the insurance. You're considering the payroll, a wage review. I think that's excellent. A benefits review. I think that's very important. For us to see you making those decisions is showing us that you're good stewards of our money. And I, for myself, say I appreciate that. I would commend the city highly that if you stick to the 3%, yes, we're still taking a little bit from Peter to pay Paul from the utilities fund, but again, there's other infrastructure money. We've got the State Reserve Fund loan, the $2 million that was mentioned the other day, that's available. We've got another $700,000 to add to it to work on the infrastructure. And again, we still have ARPA money. And final question, where in all of this is our grant writer so that we can start getting other money? I haven't heard that discussed.
It's a good point.
It's
Did
too
we
late
figure
now.
a salary in that?
It's too late
No.
now, possibly, but again, work with us. We've heard that for
The-
2 years. We heard it during the election. We're still not there.
The attorney's
you.
writing the RFP. I could answer that to
Thank
you
you.
right now. But we need to figure out how much we're gonna pay that grant writer in this budget.
Because it is not.
Well, I
in
think
here.
that, it's my understanding that the RFP is written, so it's ready to go. But my hope is that once we hire a grant writer, that the majority of their funding is covered through the grants that they write. I know that that's not going to be 100% of the case, but I would like for the grant writer to try to write her fees or his fees into the grants that they're seeking. But if you guys want to try to increase the budget to cover that, we can. But
Do we even have as far as, the way that I've heard it said is basically the grant writers are covered by the things that they're writing and winning. But I've always said that the thing with the grant writers is if we don't, if there's not some sort of flat salary in there, my concern is, and it is a true concern, is that grant writers will only write $1 million, $2 million, $500,000 grants, and we're missing out on what everybody else is nickel and dime. We'll take a $10,000 playground grant. We'll take a $50,000 that may take a day or two to write, and they don't want to write it because they won't make any money off of it.
Well, I think this is coming up on one of our meetings, and we can always make an adjustment to the budget if we decide that this grant writer is going to cost us $50,000 a year, or whatever they're going to cost us.
Would it be better just to put a line item in the?
Go ahead, ma'am, then we
Go
can get the
ahead.
rest of the people
Sorry
talking.
to occupy time. Just a comment about some of the things that I discovered in looking at the budget line by line. Professional legal services, this is under code enforcement. 2023 budget was 31,000. Year to date, as of 31 March, was only 5,800, say $6,000. But yet the 23-24 budget is 31,000. Again, the same as last year. Makes sense. But what I'm saying is maybe there's money there that's going to be discovered at mid-year review. You're going to say, oh, well, we only spent another $8,000 this year. We've got 31 in the budget. Let's use that for the grant writer. Same thing is true for demolition, other contractor services under code. Year to date, 30,000. We did a lot of demos this year. Mayor Kelly took care of that, but we budgeted another 35,000 again for this year for 23-24. Are we really going to have that many demos? Michael was 5 years ago. I think probably the guy on Second, he's maybe one of the last. I don't know what we do with Miss Kim's property.
It's coming down, ma'am.
Good. But again, to me, there's a little bit of, I don't want to call it fluff. I think it's reasonable, but there's money here. Animal control, $48,000 budget. In fact, I have a question about this. $48,000 budget. Year to date, we've spent $7,400. We've got another $48,000 budgeted for next year.
It's a contract.
It's
Oh, it's a
It's a
contract?
contract.
And it's paid quarterly.
Through the county, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that.
It's the
Thank you.
flat rate plus so much per
Okay.
dog.
So there's money there, but thank you for your diligence.
I also believe, though, as everything else goes up, I believe that we'll have an inflated, we will be getting more money in our sales tax numbers. You guys haven't seen the new numbers, so I believe we'll have extra revenue over and above what we've budgeted for.
Yeah, because I've kept it the same.
Because we've kept it the
last
same
year.
as the years
Mhm.
past,
Didn't have the
however,
numbers.
everything's going up. So I think we'll have a revenue increase there.
The conversation I had with the mayor is that with the surplus, the extra that we're gonna have in the utility fund's gonna be able to pay for the grant writer. Because the grant writer, 90% of his work is going to be the city's infrastructure. He might get a playground grant or something in between there, whatever, but 90% of that grant writer is going to be infrastructure.
Okay.
So the utility fund should be able to pay that grant writer's salary if it incurs. It's just a matter of, he can turn that 700,000 into 2.5 million. And that's where we just gotta get to. That's why I explained to the mayor that paying that grant writer out of the utility department will be 100% win for the city.
So we're okay then.
I
Can
think
I
more
ask
of
you
our
another
cost-
question while you're standing here? We have an account called impact fees, and it's got $550,000 sitting in it. What do we use that money for?
It's restricted, and basically we can only use that money for improvements to the city's system.
To what part of the system?
If we improve the city's system in capacity or improvements.
So we could put in a force main, or we could put in another lift station.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's
Or fix what breaks.
specifically, every time we pay an impact fee, it's specifically restricted by the auditors to where I would have to say that if we put in a new 8-inch water line or whatever, I could take that cost and then, but there again, I have to budget that I'm gonna use that money to do that. And they have told me this last audit, we talked whatever, we're gonna do more of the tracking of our improvements. Because when they pay for the tap and the tap fee and everything, that's all included in that, so I cannot unrestrict the money for the cost of that. I can only unrestrict the money for the improvements in the system.
Okay, so while we're talking about money, I personally would like for you to look at that and see, that's a lot of money sitting there. If maybe there's a project that you feel like we could utilize that
Well,
for,
I'm-
and adjust it at some point throughout the year.
And that's fine, and we might be able to piggyback onto the SRF project, once we get a contractor and we.
Couldn't
get
that be
past-
used as the match for a grant writer if we put
Yes.
infrastructure in?
That's what I was
Well, it
thinking
can be
too.
used for match, but it
That's
also
right.
can help us match this SRF,
That's right.
because it is a complete. So, like I said, I'm just airing everybody on the air of caution right now. We don't know with all the prices and increases right now. Tomorrow we'll find out what roads are gonna look like at the bid opening. Come August, we'll probably find out what the bid opening is on the SRF, and that's really where we're gonna see what we're looking at is what costs are gonna be, because the SRF's ultimately estimated 3.2, and I think it's gonna be higher than that.
Okay. it's currently estimated at 3.2, and we have $2 million set aside for it?
And the other 33, whatever is covered.
Okay, thank you.
So the question comes down, do we leave it at 3.68 or do we bump it down to 3? And
No, 3.86.
I personally, as a homeowner, would rather pay the 3.8% and know that that's how much my taxes are. And next year, it's either, or 3.6%, I'm sorry, 3.68%. And know that it's gonna be 3.68% next year, or, great, it went down by $200, right? I would rather have the hit at the beginning than to be, oh, my property tax just went up to 500 and next year it's gonna be 600.
But we don't know that that'll be the case. I mean, we may have other issues come out through this year and have to increase the amount again. I still feel like we've just hit everybody, and I am one of the ones that have said we've needed this, but I just feel like we've hit everybody so hard, and I would like to see us stick to a 3% if we can. I really believe that our sales tax money is going to increase too, which will cover some of the money that we're trying to pull out of utility.
Have you seen preliminary numbers?
No, just if you think about how much everything has increased, right? So my guess is if we look back at the last 3 months of what we bring in, I bet the last 3 months are going to be higher than what they typically are.
Suzanne,
Yes, sir.
at 3%, will we break even? And how much will it leave us left over? Am I right at 760,
Will
be
we
the
break
excess
even in the general
revenue?
fund?
ma'am?
Will we break even in the general
No,
fund?
we will, at 3%, well, there'll be 760,000 for public works, correct?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay. When initially we said 800,000 is what we want. So we'd only be 40,000 short from our recommendation initially.
We had said 800,000 for ad valorem.
Correct. So we would
And
be
at
at
3%,
760.
that would bring us 823.
823 at 3%.
Yes, sir.
Good enough for me.
We have businesses fixing to build, so our property rates.
It will. It may not be this year, but what we all are saying is that it will get better. It has to, because we're getting more and more businesses.
And that's true. Maybe next year, if we were to need an increase, we will have more businesses that are adding to the property values.
Tony, do you think that there'll be anything that you need this year that we would have to increase the ad valorem next year to cover? I mean, you're gonna be so busy doing this SRF pipe and everything like that, you know?
That's gonna probably be a year-long project.
It probably
if
will.
Not longer, but I mean,
It probably will.
we've got a lot on our plate.
I know, man. I know. All right. Well, if that's all there is, let's vote on it. Let's vote on the taxable amount first. If that's what you want to do, I'm going to go straw ballot. You want to do a straw ballot? You want to vote on it?
I'm okay to make a motion. I will make a motion that we implement a 3% ad valorem tax, pull the balance from the utility fund to cover the general fund deficit, and pass the budget as presented today.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Madam Clerk, you call a roll, please.
Ms. Barrow? I agree with everything but the ad valorem, so I'm gonna say no.
Do you want to have more discussion?
No, cause it ain't gonna go nowhere, so. Mr. Chapel?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes. I know it's hard, council, but we have to do this. We have no choice. All right, guys, thank you for your morning, and I appreciate you.
We still gotta pass the budget, don't we?
We just did.
I just did. I made it all in one motion.
Oh.
Oh, well, hold on. Let me, so the CRA money was in here, so do I need to do that as a separate motion? Tanya, do you know if that needs to be a separate motion, or is it okay since it's in the budget presented?
It's a line item in the budget, right?
sir.
Okay.
It's as presented.
In the budget.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Before
question for Tony. Have you been seeing on the water a gain and loss
Thank you.
over the years? Are we improving that, or is it still pretty much the same over the years?
We've been